Good morning again, Mr.
Morning.
Mark Dainty, and thank you, sir, for granting us the opportunity for the interview again at Angkor Wildlife and Aquarium, sir, in SIEM REAP province. And in this interview, we will focus on another animal,
Yep.
which is actually three animals, the sun bears,
Yeah.
which is, who have been living in Angkor Wildlife and Aquarium for how many years, sir?
Now, 2.5 years.
2.5 years,
Yeah, but just before we open.
Oh, before you open?
Before we open, they come to us, yes. Yeah.
So behind us here is the entrance,
Yep.
which look a bit, traditional.
Yep.
So we can go and see them,
Sure,
sir.
sure.
Yes, sir. Sir, can you tell us a bit, how did you obtain the bears, sir, from the beginning?
So these bears were rescued from the pet trade, not by us. They were rescued by an NGO which specialises in animal rescue and in particularly bears. And then they lived at Phnom Tamao zoo for most of their life. And then when we opened and we made this exhibit, then the three girls came to us from Phnom Tamao.
So before they came to Phnom Tamao, do you know how did they live, in their early life?
Well, their history is all three were rescued at around 4 months old. So very small babies, which would have been kept illegally as pets. And then they were more than likely confiscated by Forestry Administration and then handed over to the NGOs which specialise in bear welfare. Yes. So they would have been from the wild. And more than likely their mothers were probably killed or caught in the snare, and then the babies then get sold into the pet trade.
But you don't know that, if they are siblings or not. We cannot know.
No, very unlikely. I think they were rescued from 3 different occasions, so they're probably all unrelated, yes. Yeah, but they were all rescued around the same age. So from a very young age, these 3 animals have lived together. So they know each other very well.
Yes, sir. So normally, as you mentioned, they live in the wild until maybe the age of 4 months. And then they got to stay in Phnom Tamao National Park?
Yes, so these individuals were unlucky enough to be taken from the wild, yes, and then forced into captivity, yeah.
Yes, sir. So, in Phnom Tamao, how was their condition, if you could remember, before they come here, sir, let's say?
Oh, in Phnom Tamao, they have a few different NGO work inside Phnom Tamao. So the NGO that these came from, like I say, they specialise in bear rescue and bear welfare. So yes, their care was brilliant. They rear them from very young babies, which need specialist keepers, specialist care, and right up until adults. So yeah, they had great care at Phnom Tamao.
Yes, sir. But a sun bear, which is, a bit of a, not a strange name, but maybe a name that not many people, got to know also because, people will know polar bear, they know black bear or something like that, But sun bear, are they native to Asia or Southeast Asia?
Southeast Asia, yeah. So they've got quite a wide distribution. But, in countries like Cambodia, they're becoming much rarer because they live in the forest. And every year our forest gets smaller. Right? We chop the forest down or we use it for other things. And that means they have less places to live, basically. So the numbers are decreasing. But luckily, they do have this species has a large range across Southeast Asia, yes.
So we have 3 bears over here, sir. One of them are hanging on the hammock and the other 2 also on the hammock. So can you tell us a bit, from each of them, sir, like, let's say from the beginning, like how do you call them? Like why do they have each name? And you said they have different personalities. Sir.
Yeah. So, all animals have different personality. And when we work with them, we kind of know this. You can spot differences.
Yes.
But they already came with their names to us. So they were named previously when they were in Phnom Tamao. So we have on the platform is Aeki. And then over here we have Hobby, which is on the top, and then Luna at the bottom. Luna is the smallest. And they're pretty much Aeki likes to keep herself to herself. She is not so dependent on social interaction, whereas the two over here, Hobby and Luna, are pretty much always together. They're very, very good friends. They sleep in the same hammock together. When they come in the night time, they have access inside the bedrooms also with more hammocks. And generally, they tend to sleep together. So these two really need their social interaction between each other. But Aeki's quite happy.
But you mentioned, social interaction, for example, dogs and cats, the domestic animal, in which you may know very well. They tend to cuddle, they tend to, groom each other. But how about bears? I mean, what do you mean when they socialize?
I think it's more for security.
Security.
So yeah, if we have to separate these for any reason, we can see that these two individuals get stressed when they're separated. So they're much more secure when they're together. Whereas Aeki doesn't care. We can separate Aeki, she doesn't care. She doesn't get stressed over that. So that's how we sort of we manage their behaviors by like stress levels and the behaviors they give off. So generally we don't separate these two. When we bring inside in the evening, we like to separate animals to feed individually, so we know everybody's getting the correct amount. And they're okay for feeding to be separated, so we know everyone's eating correctly. But then as soon after finish, we put straight back together.
So if you let them feed on the same plate, there is a chance that they might fight for food. Is that what you mean?
These two won't fight. They're, like I said, they're very, very good friends. The problem is you get one animal that maybe eats faster than the other one. And we want to make sure they're getting all the correct types of food, like not too much fruit. Fruit is not so good. High in sugar is bad for the teeth. It makes
you
mean
like domestic fruit that
like banana.
Yeah, banana.
Yeah, it is not really good for wildlife.
Okay.
So we actually replace, now we don't feed much fruit at all, and we replace it with some wild fruits, but mostly vegetables, which is more closer to what they would eat in the wild rather than the fruit that we like, high in sugar. But it just means that they eat all of their food, and they eat the stuff that's more healthy, just like a child. We cannot let the child eat chocolate because it tastes nice.
But do they like, do they typically like the honey that, we see on the cartoon?
Yes, anything sugar,
they like it.
high sugar, yes, they prefer. So these ones will eat honey in the wild also. They will raid beehives, and they will eat honey, but not that often. So we can use honey, and we do use honey in small amounts as a management tool. So if we want to see them close up, maybe we want to look at the eyes or the teeth, the mouth.
You feed them honey.
We feed a little bit of honey, and then they will present themselves to us, and we can get a good close look. So we do use sugary things, but more for management, not as a typical diet, because they get fat. And they get teeth and gum issues. And if you eat too much sugar, you can get the sugar rush.
Sugar rush,
yeah, which is no good for wild animals. Yeah.
So they can also get sugar rush if
you feed too much sugar, for sure, their energy levels will increase and unnaturally. Yes. So we know now over long-term nutritional studies done across zoos all over the world, we know that human cultivated fruit, it does not have the same nutritional value that wild fruits would have. So we need to match their diet as close to the wild as possible, because that's what's good for them. So we tend to feed a lot less things like banana, apple, this sort of stuff. Now we can give little bits, but most of their diet here is made up through vegetables.
Yes, sir, but back to their personality a bit, you said that, that one is a bit independent, and the other two is a bit, they come together more often. But how are they, together? Like you said, one of them get along with the other one. But I mean, can you give us like a general idea? How do they interact on a daily basis?
Well, they're all pretty good friends. So we have to remember that in the wild, bears live on their own. They don't live in groups. So this is an unnatural setting. Which is forced because of animal rescue. When you rescue animals, you have a lot.
We cannot keep the space.
No, so we have to do what we can. But this is why they're a group of. So there are 3 females.
Oh, right? All of them are female.
All of them are female. Yeah. So we keep bears in single-sex groups, either all male or female. And this helps with these being female. Females tend to fight less than males and are less territorial in that aspect. So
Okay.
if we have a group of males, we would typically expect to see more
damage.
arguments, and not damage so much, but yes.
You mean argument, like verbal?
verbal and occasionally a little
physical,
bit physical
yeah,
as
yeah.
well. Yes,
Oh, okay.
which is also not. They say in the wild this is normal for a bear. The problem is in captivity, you're restrained to one area, right? So in the wild, the smaller bear can run away or get away, but in captivity we can't have this. So we have to manage them very carefully. So having 3 females is great for us because we see a lot less issues like that.
Yes, sir. But how are their attitude, with human being? For example, the caretakers, like.
With the animal keepers that look after these, they see them every day. The keepers bring them food, and they remember this. So with the keepers, they have quite a good relationship. Nobody ever goes inside with these animals. They're very aggressive, and they can be very nervous, and that can mean that they can attack and injure us. So we don't go inside with them. There's nothing like that. But our keepers manage them every day. We move them over so we can come in and clean the enclosure and prepare it, and then they move them back out. So they're fine with the animal keepers that they see daily. If we need to do anything different, for example, I need to come and do something. They don't see me every day. Then they can get a bit nervous because they're quite intelligent and they know something different's happening.
So they remember you very well.
Well, more that they don't know me so very well. Because my job is not here every day cleaning and feeding the bears, right? I have a different job. Our keepers do that every day, and with them, they're very relaxed. But if different people come, then, often, if like you take the animal to the vet, right? You get nervous because it knows something different's happening. And this is the same with these. So we generally try to get them to have a day-to-day routine, and they like a routine. But of course, every now and then we have to do something different, and they get a little bit stressed then.
Yes, sir. But you mentioned that they came from Phnom Tamao, and then when they come here, so as an animal, curator or maybe caretaker, how do you normally position them in new, place? Like, do you let them roam around, the area for certain days so they can get, calm their nerve down?
Yeah. So when they first arrived, we kept them inside the house. Before letting them outside. We let them calm down.
So you calm them down in a confined place?
Yes, because this is safer.
Safer for us,
Yeah, and for the bears.
For the bear,
we don't want them to panic and injure themselves or anything like that. So we kept them inside. We also had some of their keepers from Phnom Tamao came with the bears. So they have people that they know also. They stayed with us for a week, which is very good of them.
The transfer of knowledge, yeah.
Yeah, and also is the bears, they know those voices, they know those people. So for the bears also, it was an easier move because they had their keepers with them also. Then after one night inside, and they have some food, the next morning we allow them outside. Yeah, so they can explore out here. And now they have access in and out all day and night long. Now they're okay. They've been here a long time. They know the enclosure. So now we're not too worried. It's only when you initially put them into a new exhibit, you need to just be a little bit more careful then.
So how do you know that they are stressed out? Of course, they are mammal, they can show similar emotion to us. So they tend to be a bit, uneasy. Their movement are more erratic.
Yeah, if they run away or they make they can be quite vocal, or you see heavy breathing. So a lot of behavior similar to us. Also with bears, if they get particularly stressed, they will pace. When they maybe they will walk to one of the corners and just walk back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. This is something that is unfortunate with bears, but it's quite common. Our 3 don't show any of these stereotypic behaviors, luckily, but some bears do, and there's not much you can do about that. That's a result of being taken from the wild and forced into captivity, unfortunately.
But for example, so like dog, when we see them feeling stressed, you can calm them down, by patting their head or their shoulder. But for bears, how do you calm them down, sir?
I mean, this is the big difference between domestic animals and wildlife, right? Obviously, it's much more difficult with these. We can't go in and pet them and this sort of thing. But, you know, it's about giving them back to routine, back to normal.
Oh, okay.
So then they feel less stressed. So, you know, a lot of wild animals, when they exhibit signs of stress, you need to try to understand what's causing that. And then you can remove that stress factor. So let's say if it's because there's a lot of people for whatever reason and they start to stress out, then those people go away. So we remove the stress factor.
So forgive me if I ask this question, sir. So for example, during, let's say, high season, and then there are many people coming to visit the bear, if you notice the bear feeling uneasy, maybe
from here, because they see people all the time, visitors, they don't care about the visitor.
They get used to it.
They just ignore it. I mean, like in the house or the back of house.
Oh, okay.
Then that sort of thing could cause an issue. Maybe we have some vets come to see them to do a check on them. Then this can sort of cause stress. And a little bit of stress is okay. It's normal. They get stressed in the wild also. A little bit is okay. So we know how much we can, and then we say, okay, they've had enough, and we go away and we let them calm down. Because they don't understand what we're doing is for their benefit, right? Any veterinary work, medical stuff, they don't understand we're doing this for their good health, but they get stressed.
Yes, sir. So talking about stress, you know, you said in the, you know, in these premises, you also give a lot of activity so that the animal can feel entertained. Yeah. So you mentioned just now, like, you know, how you put food in certain area, or maybe, you know, the structure of their place that they live is a bit like a playground. So how do you keep them entertained?
So we call it enrichment.
Enrichment.
Yes. So enrichment's important. So we have an enrichment schedule here. So pretty much every day, these guys will get a different type of enrichment. And at a different time. So it's about making them... so boredom is a real thing in captivity, right? It's not just stress. Boredom can cause, you know, pretty bad impact on their mental health. And that can be very, very bad. So in the wild, they would spend a lot of time looking for food or doing many other things which keeps their mind active and physically active. In captivity, they don't need to do that. We provide the food. So
it doesn't make them happy because they get, you know, free food all the time. On the contrary, they can get bored. Yes. By not doing anything.
So we give them enrichment to make them think, maybe to make them physically active. So we give food stuffed inside coconuts and things like this, and they have to rip it open. And this is trying to encourage natural behaviours, what they would do in the wild. So in the wild, these guys will rip open termite mounds, and you know, they use those muscles and the claws to do that. The long tongue is also to take insects from mounds. So we try to replicate that. We do actually give them termite mounds sometimes when we can find some.
Termite mound?
Yeah.
You bring like a huge chunk of termite mound?
Yes, yeah. Especially the ones that we can find on a tree, because they're easy to take off and can put into here.
With termite inside?
Yeah. They love it.
So they eat termites, sir?
Yeah. With the tongue, they will eat all the termites in the mouth. And yeah, just from simple things like hiding the food. When we give them the food, we give a little bit inside, so we make sure everybody's eating correctly and everyone's healthy. But the rest of the food, we move around outside and we hide it in places, and they know they need to go and find it. So it's just about not just keeping the mind active, physically active as well.
But do you sometimes, you know, make the game a bit more challenging for them? For example, if you put them in the coconut all the time, you know, they will get used to it.
Well, this is why we have the schedules. So it changes, because enrichment is only enrichment if it is something new, novel, and they have to work it out or think. If we do the same thing every day, it no longer becomes enrichment. It becomes routine. So this is why we're always trying to look at different ways of providing enrichment for them,
Yes, sir. So to summarize a bit, you know, if they get a bit nervous, you said, okay, we need to bring them the routine. But if we bring them the routine all the time, they also need enrichment. So it's a very balancing game.
So most, from day to day, they like, all animals actually like a routine, right? Because they feel less stressed because they know what's happening and when. But yes, too much of a routine can be an issue. So this is why we introduce enrichment once for these guys once a day. And this can be many things. You know, it's very hot here. Sometimes we freeze. We freeze water with some nice bits of food inside, and we give the big ice block that then they have to break open. And so we do many different types.
I see. So, and also the way you build their habitat, you know, with branches and hammocks and something like that.
Yeah.
Also to cater to their nature of climbing high ground.
Yes. So these guys live a lot in the trees. So this is why we have a platform like this. Of course, it's to give shade also. In the forest is shaded, so it's not so hot. But yes, they like to be up high. And they feel more secure if they're up high.
So they don't live in den?
No, these guys will make the nest in the tree.
So their nest is like...
It's not quite a nest, but yeah, like Eki's doing now, she's making the bed with all of this. The same sort of thing. They will break tree branches and they will make the platform up in the tree. Because it's safer. They feel safer if they're asleep in the top of a tree. Nothing's going to come to get you in the top of a tree. So this is what she's doing now. She's just making her bed. She's going to maneuver that until it's more comfortable, and then lie down in it. And we give hammocks because we know through years of keeping bears that they like to sleep in the hammock. So we make many hammocks.
Because it feels like tree branches. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think it doesn't really feel like tree branches, but it's very comfortable and it's hanging and we can put them up high. So it just, again, replicates what they look for in the wild there.
Yes, sir. But you said normally these animals are nocturnal, which means they are more active at night.
Yeah.
So normally, of course, Angkor AWA is open in the daytime.
In the day, yeah.
So people do not see a lot of the activity. I mean, the real thing that they do at night.
They're more active at night time, of course. So most animals in Cambodia, most mammals anyway, are actually nocturnal because it's very hot in the day. They try to stay away from the heat and they become active when it's cooler. But of course they do, because they've been in captivity almost their entire life. So they do kind of revert a little bit. So, they know that in the morning the keepers come in, they get their breakfast. So when maybe in the wild they'd be asleep in the top of the tree. Here they're waiting for their breakfast because they know the different times. But yeah, generally in the day, especially when that sun comes up and starts to get hot, they will sleep. Same as the tiger, same as the slow loris, the civet, the binturong, all these things, they're all the same.
But naturally, what do they do at night? So if you have...
mostly foraging.
Foraging.
So looking for food.
So you give them food also at night? No, not
we give food outside here. We hide the food around before we go home, yes.
Oh, okay,
and so yeah, in the wild, they will be searching for termite mounds to break open and eat, or different things. I mean, they will eat the odd small animal as well if they can catch it. And then they will chew on many things like tree root or certain roots. So they dig a lot. Most of their activity is food finding.
Yes, sir. But over the years, do you see they change their personality or behavior toward each other, sir? Because they live in group.
No, these guys. I mean, we've only had them for around 2.5 years, and in that 2.5 years, their relationships are already established. Yeah. So no, we don't see any difference from that really. But as for them when growing up, maybe, but we don't know here. Yeah.
I see, sir. But I mean, naturally again, because they are all female, so you don't have any plan for them to raise a family.
No,
it's a bit hard to do that.
The problem is that we have a lot of rescue bears in captivity in Cambodia. A lot.
Yep.
And the biggest issue is rescuing more. So the NGO that rescued these, they rescue bears every year still in Cambodia. And it's about space and resources.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't want to then produce more bears that are going to take more space in captivity and more resources. So the NGO really focuses on the welfare of the bears they already have and rescuing more that need rescuing. They are kept in single-sex groups for that reason, that at some point, if we needed to captive breed some, we have the option, right? We could take one male from this group, one female put together.
Yes, sir.
But right now, that's not the goal. The goal is to rescue and look after as many bears that need it, and really stop the habitat being destroyed, because releasing bears is a very difficult thing to do as well. To be successful, to release bears is very difficult. So, and you know, it's becoming harder and harder to find suitable places and safe places to release animals, because the forest is under a lot of threat. So to reproduce more right now is not really
an option.
The goal, no.
Yes.
But that option is there in the future if we need to. This is why these aren't, you know, we don't castrate males. The females are not neutered. They're all able to breed if we need to at some point.
But, you know, without having the mate, I mean, you know, do they feel like stressed out or anything like that? Because like for human, yeah, we can feel a bit stressed out.
I mean, difficult to say for wildlife like this. I mean, I would guess that they would all, as adult females, they would all naturally want to have babies. That's their purpose in life, is to reproduce.
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, that's been taken away from them. But this is, again, part of the
it's
illegal
just a
pet trade.
compromise from both sides.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. And also, the last question, how do you take care of them in terms of health conditions, sir? Like, for example, medically or, you know, something similar? Yeah,
so we, I mean, through their husbandry, their welfare, and in particular with these through nutrition, we just the way we look after them contributes to their health, of course. Like I said, we feed a very balanced diet, which we know is good for them, not bad for them. So we try to avoid, prevention of any illness is better than cure, right?
Yeah,
so we try to avoid anything like that. But of course, like everything, they get sick sometimes, or they get issues. And then we just have a team of vets, which we use here, that can come out and work with us with the bears. Well, all the animals actually, and we also have we still have access to the veterinary guys who looked after these bears before, so they have all their history, and you know we help each other out. If I need help with one of these, I can also ask to some specialist vet bears that are more than happy to come and help us out as well. So it's about preventative care mostly, and then if we do run into an issue, it's getting the right people with the right skills and knowledge to come in and do the work.
So normally these 3 bears over here, they will stay here, you know, for the rest of their life.
Yeah. So all we can do with rescue wildlife like these bears that are not able to be released, they don't have the skills in the wild to survive, because this is normally taught by the mother when they're young, but that was taken away from them. And also they're not scared of people, which makes them very difficult for release. So yeah, all we can do is kind of give them a nice home, access to good welfare and medical grounds, and try and keep them as happy as we can for the rest of their life. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And also the last question, sir. So normally when tourists come to see the bears here, what do you normally explain to them, sir? Like, you explain to them about their history, about their personality, like we do right now, or is there any?
So we have a lot of signs up. So you can see over here we have signage about each bear. It's not just the names, a little bit about them. So we tell people their history, of course, and in particular, we have a lot of signage around the main window at the front, which is about the threats that some bears face. So, and captivity being the main one. So we try to portray across why wild animals don't make good pets. And even though they may look really cute in the market, do not fuel that trade by buying them, even if you think you're doing the right thing to rescue, because those people have then more money to go get more, and it keeps this thing going. Also, you know, it still surprises me that people buy a young bear, because it's going to grow into an adult bear. So at some point you're going to have big problem. So the idea that this could even make a good pet is crazy. But I do understand some people want to do it because they feel sorry for the bear. But really we need to put a stop to it. So if there's no trade in these animals, if nobody's buying them, I'll stop selling them.
So they do not make good pets?
No.
The
only animals that make good pets are what is domesticated. We already know. If we want a nice, loyal pet, get a dog. Get a cat. Yeah.
Not a bear.
Not a bear.